Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. Your host here, Matt Zayab. We are buzzing as always. Another beautiful day in Toronto. Hope you guys are enjoying summer. Markets are looking spicy right now, guys. There's never a short of news flow coming in. And I mean, heck, the summer chillness is, I don't want to say in full force, but it's going to be some wild months and can't wait to get through this and have Q4 come upon us. It's always gets nice and fun. Make sure your bags are packed and it's going to be an absolute treat. Guys, we have a special guest coming on the show today. We haven't had an AI pod in a couple weeks. It's been a while, and we're going to take a deep dive into AI and the verification layer of Web3 and why AI and crypto will be intertwined and will be really close friends on this journey of taking over sort of next frontier of tech. Today we have Naik on the show today, co-founder and COO of Mira Network, where he leads research, tech, and operations. Prior to Mira, he spent over a decade as an executive and tech leader at Uber and Amazon, and worked across AI, marketplace, and hardware. And prior to tech, he spent several years in investment banking and strategy consulting, a little bit of everything. And now he is in the Web3 DGen world along with all of us. Ninad, welcome to the show, my friend. Pumped to have you on. How you doing this lovely morning?
Doing well, doing great, Matt. Thanks for having me here.
Pumped to have you on. Let's jump right into it. What do you guys do? Normally we'd shoot the shit, ask you about your past, but I do believe we're going to be tight for time on this episode as you and I are going to take a deep dive into everything AI related. Set the tone with what exactly Mira does, what you guys have built at Mira. I mean, you guys have had incredible success already. And then once the listeners sort of understand what Mira is, we'll take a step back. We'll go deep dive into AI, LLMs, all the hallucination, all the problems that it's having right now. And then we'll segue into how Mira solves that problem. So to start off, tell us a little bit about Mira, and then we'll go deep dive into everything AI related.
Totally. And just to set the context here, AI has become a content generation machine. And all of us that use AI are delegating more and more of our thinking and our production to AI. The problem is that today's AI with LLMs and so on are fundamentally prone to making errors. Not because they've been designed poorly, but because LLMs are a subclass of neural networks, which are probability machines. So they never know the answer with certainty. They just guess the best answer. And so if you want to delegate more and more of that work to AI, we need to now worry about how do you make sure that all of this scaffolding we are building with AI is not just one bad Jenga machine. And that's where Mira comes in. We basically help at every step of the way ensure that the output of AI is as close to fact or truth as possible. We believe that if you don't do this, then AI essentially becomes nothing more than slightly better SaaS, but it doesn't actually allow us to build artificial intelligence. For us, AI actually should stand for autonomous intelligence. I should be able to set AI off or, on my behalf and then go do something else. Ideally, we should all be touching grass while the AI works for us. But that's not possible today. And so we think that we found the math and the statistics to make this work to help us get to, touching grass while AI does our work.
I absolutely love that. Okay. So just so we're all on the same page here, AI present day, it's an incredibly useful pattern recognition tool. We ask it a question, it recognizes the patterns with the gazillions and gazillions of words that it's read, and it spits out the next coming words. That's how it works. You and the team, big problem you're solving, you're going to turn this bad boy into not only part of the verification layer for Web3, but also it's going to do shit for us, which is exactly what we want. And I know that was a very vague and nuanced way of me to say this, but it really is that vague and nuanced. Like we will pretty much get this thing to do almost anything we want. We just need to get to that point.
Exactly. And I'll give you an example. That's not the most precise example, but it helps with the intuition. At some point, Philadelphia was the capital of the US, right? And now it's DC. It's been DC for a long time. So we all think it's DC. But in your training set, there will be some X% of text that will say Philly is the capital of the US, even for that one brief moment. So when an AI is generating the answer, what is the capital of the US, in its training set and in its probability distribution, there will be that X% that will be Philly. And so you cannot really know with 100% certainty that ChatGPT or Claude or what have you will always answer DC. Now, if you want to build a business or if you want to build something autonomous and you need it to know that it is DC, today's AI won't get us there. Now, all sorts of scaffolding is being built. People try to mix in knowledge graphs. They try to mix in, mini models. They'll try to hard code some answers and so on and so forth. But that actually is not the dream of AI, where you start building all of this scaffolding, right? Knowledge graphs are extremely hard to maintain. They're extremely hard to build, extremely expensive to build. And so we think that the long-term solution is one that scales with AI. It should use LLMs to get the best out of LLMs. And that's what we're trying to do. And so happy to get into the detail.
Love that. Okay, let's take a step back and go present day AI. This episode will air on Monday, July 14th. Yes, it will air, give or take a week from now. Present day AI is still pretty friggin' awesome, I will say. It is pretty awesome. It does make life a hell of a lot easier. And it's all about how you use it. There was a time, I'd say probably a year ago, where I was relying way too much on it. Whereas now I still take the first stab at things. There was probably a 2 to 3 month period, Ninad, where as soon as I had to do something, I would ask an LLM to give me a stencil, and then I would build off that stencil. I don't think that's a good way. I've sort of refined and retuned my approach, where I will start the parade, I'll get the train off the tracks and rolling, and then I'll plug it in and ask for feedback, and then I'll go back, iterate, so on and so forth, cross-reference with different AIs. But that's where we're at today, and it's still an incredible tool and saves, dozens and dozens of hours a week. But the main problem is still the hallucination, where it still can't get things right. I'd love if we could just sort of talk about that little point for a little bit and how you and the team are also fixing that solution too.
Yeah, let's talk about why hallucinations occur and what we are seeing in the field in terms of its impact, and then how we're addressing it. Why hallucinations occur is going back to the Philly example. You take a bunch of data, right? So most large models, you look at common crawl data and other public and private data. You then curate that data to see, what you want to focus on. If you want to have, general knowledge, then you want to basically go as broad as possible with your data set, right? Which is why sometimes you see, I don't, if you remember Dan mode for ChatGPT, where it said like really, really wonky stuff, is because it was probably trained on some obscure parts of the internet. Now the model then sees, okay, if I see the capital of the United States is, then it has some probability it will say something not DC. In the case of any country, I think Egypt has a new capital. India, Calcutta, I believe, was capital during the British times, right? So anytime you see multiple responses possible for the same next token, you will have a hallucination risk. In some cases, it just makes up completely random things, right? In the legal tech scenario, if you want a citation, it'll just make up responses because it has a bias to please you. That also is part of just how it is trained, right? And so hallucination ends up becoming both, annoying, but also painful, because in a business setting, you don't want hallucinations. I have now in front of me a website by Damien Charlatan. He's tracked 203 cases across the world, the US, Canada, Israel, and so on, where judges have actually found that the lawyer on either the plaintiff side or the defendant side used AI to write their case, to argue their case, the AI made up a fabricated case. And the judge was like, what are you talking about? These are like instances where, they've been caught and they've either been sanctioned or there's been a monetary fine, they've lost the case and so on. There was one situation.
It's probably that times like literally 100,000, if
100%.
not like million. Like,
right.
Yeah.
And this is in legal tech. Most frontline lawyers now don't want to use AI because they are the ones at risk of being disbarred, right? And if you look, I'll share this link with you later, but there's a bunch of different tools that have been used, and all of those tools use some foundation model. There's hallucination and there's business impact. In the medical field, you get incorrect diagnoses. In the education field, you teach students incorrect facts. In the finance field, you will end up using bad data, which means bad trade, means lost money, right? And so what ends up happening is, because of this hallucination risk, which is pretty high, even for frontier models and reasoning models, we're seeing something in the 25 to 30% range. That means 3 out of 10 AI outputs are just wrong. Even if the fact is correct, the interpretation could be wrong. The interpretation could be made up. If you know that a tool you're using is going to be wrong 3 out of 10 times, you will not let it go solo. You will be there to be the guardrail. So what ends up happening is, we now have all of this potential energy. Think of it as a dam. You have a dam with a lake full of water behind it, but you can't do much with that water because there's a dam and there's a 1-inch pipe letting water out. So what we do is, we had this insight. So, me and my founders have all been in crypto for a while, and we had this insight. How do you know that a transaction is valid in Bitcoin? A transaction is valid in Bitcoin if an honest majority of nodes agrees that it is valid. And so we said, why don't we apply the same principles to AI? If an honest majority of LLMs agrees that DC is the capital of the US, then DC must be the capital of the US. Now, that insight is very simple, but engineering it was the hard part. Because say I ask you the question, say I ask an LLM the question, what is the capital of Japan? And one says the capital of Japan is Tokyo, and the other says Tokyo, and the third says Tokyo is the capital of Japan, and the fourth says Tokyo and gives me a huge paragraph of color. How do I actually compare those responses, right? Like, okay, to a human eye, I can compare, I can say, okay, they all say Tokyo. But if you're a program, how do you compare those four responses? And so a lot of the engineering that we did and the secret sauce at Mira is being able to transform any AI output in a manner that helps models drive consensus. And so I was able to share with you previous to our call, there's a demo of how this works, and happy to share, happy to sort of like make that available to your viewers as well. But we are now able to take any AI output, a sentence, a word, a paragraph, an essay, and run it through our API. And our API will then extract every single fact from that content. It will transform that fact into a manner that makes it easy to drive consensus. And then it allows all of those models to arrive at consensus and then respond back saying this fact was true or false. And you as a user can set how many models need to agree. So by default, I like to use 3 of 3. So 3 models need to look at this and all of them need to agree. But you can use 2 of 3, you can use 3 of 4, just like a multi-sig, just like a crypto multi-sig. Yeah. You can have a multi-sig for truth.
Gotcha. Okay. This is almost, this reminds me of predictions markets a lot, where it's like the oracle needs to sort of agree, not sort of, the oracle needs to agree that whatever fact we're trying to prove is indeed correct.
Absolutely. Right. And what we're able to do is, along with that consensus, we're able to drive verification, right? So we say, here's a verification certificate. In the same way that you go to a website and you see that lock icon and you can see this is the certificate of this website. It is the legitimate website. This is the apple.com that you wanted to visit. Every fact that we verify, we write a certificate to blockchain where you can go and check. Claude agreed with this. OpenAI agreed with this, Llama, DeepSeek, any model, right, that you use, you will see which model agreed with this, which model said what answer. And so now you have that traceability of that fact. And because it is built in crypto, because our users are staking value against that network, we are now economically securing the truth. And so our long-term goal is to basically economically secure the truth. Because in a world of AI, so much content is going to be generated. You don't know what is fake. Yeah. You don't know what is real.
Yeah.
It's not even about hallucination, frankly, right? It's about, a nefarious actor. You talk about misinformation in the elections. A nefarious actor can come in and generate all sorts of fake content. How do you know that the content you're looking at is actually factually true or not?
Interesting.
And so our system allows you to economically secure the truth so that people like you and me, in either a business context or a citizen context or just general life context, can look at content and know that it is either true or false.
Okay, you're on a roll here. Let's jump into what a lot of my friends would be asking right now, which is, Matt, this all sounds incredible. This is a solution to a problem we need. Why does it need to be built on Web3? Why does it need to be built on crypto rails? Give us the why here. I get it, I love it, but I want to hear from you.
Totally. The first time we built this, we actually built it on, my MacBook. And then it's like, hey, let's just host this on AWS. But very quickly, you realize that there's actually 2 components to when AI goes wrong. There is hallucination, which is what we talk about in the legal cases I mentioned to you. And hallucination is the kind of thing that bites you in the ass right now. You just caught it, I had a fine from a judge and so on. But there's a separate class of errors, which is bias. Bias is stuff that you don't realize in the moment. It's the stuff that bites you in the ass 10 years from now. Because bias gradually shifts your worldview in a different direction, right? When you talk about how Wikipedia has become more biased, or when you talk about the mainstream media and so on, you have to catch both of them and you have to address both of them. Now, in the last 10 years, in the last 15 years, we saw what misinformation and what centralization can do with the way Google and Facebook put their thumb on the scale. What we believe in, and this is important because we all came from crypto as founders, is you have to decentralize the entire stack. And if you want to decentralize the entire stack, you have to decentralize the AI output as well. And you cannot eliminate bias in a central fashion. if this entire system is running on my laptop or on my AWS account, I am now your enemy number one, because my biases will show up in the output eventually, because I will curate the set of models that are being used to do the verification. I might just run 3 instances
Wow.
of Llama, or I might run 3 instances of OpenAI, right? Of O3 or whatever. What you want to do is let the community offer all the models and let users know that those are the models being used. And that can only be done using decentralized rails. So we knew that hallucination can be solved centrally. We also knew that bias cannot be solved centrally. And so the way to do this is to build a decentralized blockchain.
Gotcha. Okay. Very, very interesting. Talk to me about the relationship between blockchain and verification. I mean, that's like blockchain is verification. Like those words are almost synonyms. Like, it's the easiest way to put something on a decentralized ledger to show, fact and fiction. But let's talk about bringing this into the whole Web3 ecosystem, the importance of wallets and how this does play a huge role in verifying anything AI related, the importance of a token and how this, plays a huge role in having skin in the game, incentivization, rewards. Without the wallets, i.e. distribution, and without the token, i.e. an economy, this whole idea doesn't work as well as it does. And I'd love for you to explain that to us. Why, again, I know you explained why the blockchain route, but why the whole Web3 route and the importance of wallets and tokens in the sense of AI verification.
Absolutely. And in that same spirit, right? We started off with, okay, here's the problem, here's the solution. And then as you peel the onion, we realized the first layer we peeled was, oh, this has to be blockchain, because you can't solve this on AWS or some other cloud provider. Within blockchain, what is the first problem we realized? Okay, assume I have a blockchain with just 3 nodes, right? I have one node running some OpenAI model, I have one node running a Claude model, and I have one node running either Llama or DeepSeek or some other model. Don't worry about open source versus closed source for now. It's just 3 nodes, right? I say I create a question that needs to be verified. So what is the capital of Japan? The generator model said Tokyo. I need to verify this. I send it to the 3 nodes. How do I know that the nodes are being honest? What I mean by that is, even something as simple as, I want a 400 billion parameter model to verify this because I think it's a complex question. How do I know that the node did not actually use just a 30 billion parameter model? That's the first problem. How do you know that it is an honest majority of nodes? How do you know each node is honest? Second one is, how do you know that the node is not just guessing the answer? Because even if you guess the answer, there's some probability that you get it right, right? Maybe you're not using an LLM. Maybe you're just doing a Google search in the backend. How do you know all of this is working? And so then we had to be like, okay, that means there has to be skin in the game for each of the node operators. So then you have proof of stake. When you do inference, that is, de facto proof of work. And so the way we built our blockchain was this hybrid proof of stake, proof of work network, where a node operator has to stake value to be a node operator. They then do inference every time they're doing verification. For that, they get paid for proof of work. And if they end up doing something malicious, they get slashed. So now you have that mini economy against the node operators. Once I have verified something and I write that certificate to the knowledge chain, now you need to secure that chain economically. That's where you have a second layer of staking.
Gotcha.
And once you have that knowledge written to the chain and stake and secured economically, Matt, you could come and say, you know what, I'm going to build my own decentralized Wikipedia by just reading all the information from this chain. Now you have the openings of an Oracle system, because every single fact I'm verifying, I'm writing to that knowledge chain, right? Everything from Tokyo is the capital of Japan to Toronto is in Canada. Every single thing is on that chain. So now anybody in the open web can come, read from our chain and build their own Wikipedia. And it will be bias-free. It will be real-time.
Wow. Okay. I love that. You're on a roll here, mate. We got to give a huge shout out to our sponsor of the show, Prime XPT. And when we get back, we're going to keep buzzing on everything Mira related. Huge shout out to Prime XPT, longtime friends and longtime sponsors of the Crypto News podcast. We love the team at Prime XPT, as they offer a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. Doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet, you can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. Prime XPT is also running an exclusive promo for listeners of the Crypto News podcast. Use the promo code CryptoNews50. Again, that's CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. And CryptNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Now back to the show with Mira. All right, mate. Decentralized identifiers. I think this is somewhat of what you just talked about. I think that was what you just talked about. Okay. I really like. One, I love the name, the DIDs. And I do think that this will almost act as a bit of a gig economy, like what we saw in 2020 and 2021 with Steppen and with, oh my God, how am I forgetting the name? In the Philippines, the play to earn game that went mega viral.
Axie.
Thank you. Jeez, brain fart there. I do think that this part of crypto will almost be some type of a gig economy, in the sense of, if you have a brain, which everyone does, and wants to participate and will stake a little bit to join this economy, I feel like these sort of decentralized identifiers will almost be a little gig economy, because you can get paid so quickly, and you can get paid via micropayments in Mira token or whatever, the case may be. But go on a little riff for me about the importance of decentralized identifiers, and if you and I are in the same boat here, and if you also think that this will be sort of a huge part of crypto moving forward.
I think so. Like the identifiers piece is essentially, you can participate in two ways, right? You can either, as we decentralize further, and just like Ethereum, our goal is to make it easier and easier for anybody to join the network and bring whatever compute they have to the table. And so over time, anybody with excess compute should be able to participate. And that's a deepen angle. But that also allows users. One of the things that we're working on along the way is the Mira SDK, which is, we thought, if I now have good quality AI output, I'm essentially building a synthetic foundation model, right? Today, you can come to me to do verification, but in 6 months' time, in 9 months' time, why do you only do verification? Why do you not just come to me to ask the question? I will internally verify and give you a high quality response. At that point, I'm acting like a foundation model, right? I'm sort of like solving your generation and verification problem. Then what is the problem that you need to solve? Then you need to enable any builder to not just build AI as a tech solution, but as a product solution, which means that you need payments, you need authentication, you need identity along the authentication, right? And all of that in one package. And so that then allows people anywhere in the world to quickly write up their agent. The Mira stack gives you high quality AI content along with all of the infrastructure required. And now you can just plug in your agents into the Web3 economy. And that's where integrations with stable coins become really, really important. That's where integrations with other L1s become super important.
Interesting. Okay.
So think of it as, our observation from having, being builders for so long is that a lot of infrastructure companies, a lot of sort of like core layer, first layer companies tend to only think about what is necessary to make a prototype. But between prototype and business, there's a lot of things that need to be done, right? You need to have, how does my user pay me? How do I pay other people? How do I know that this is actually Matt? Where do I store Matt's data? Where do I store his information? What do I do for compute? There's many, many things that are involved, right? It's sort of like the Amazon infrastack, AWS infrastack, so to speak. You have compute, you have memory, you have other things. And so we think of the Mira network today as the first leg of that journey. So the first leg in and of itself is super valuable with verification, but you can build an entire infrastructure business on top of that verification stock.
Wow. That's wild. I mean, yeah, this has a lot of, the TAM here is absolutely massive. Absolutely massive.
Significant.
I want to go back to just the AI verification layer for 1 second. How does that look in your eyes? Is it like on Instagram or Twitter, now X, where you get a blue check mark? Would it be something like that where it's verified? How's it going to look from the consumer end when a consumer is scrolling on Twitter or whatever social platform, and they might see a piece of AI generated content? Will it be the social platforms themselves partnering with Mira? Walk me through that whole workflow. What does that look like in your eyes?
There's many different flavors to this. So the core product from our side is an API. So you send information and it gives you back fact or not fact, right? And so you can think of how builders across the world can do interesting things with it. So one example is maybe someone like a Grammarly uses our API and adds a Grammarly feature or Grammarly product line where you're on some website and they automatically underline for you all the factual inaccuracies. That's one, right? Or you can have a version of community notes that is built using our tech, where how people ask Grok, is this true? You can be like, hey, Mira bot, is this true? And Mirabot is actually a lot more performant than Grok because Grok's error rate is about the same as the other foundation models, right? When we did our research, we were able to show that we're able to increase the accuracy from about 70%, which is the baseline today, all the way up to 95% with 3 of 3 model consensus. It is higher with 4 of 4, but then the cost goes up commensurately. So to go from 70 to 95 is a significant jump, right? And so you can build a Grammarly site website. Think of it in legal tech. I talked about all of these hallucination cases. Someone like a LexisNexis or a Harvey or anybody doing legal tech should be making a call to Mira API to make sure that the cases that they are citing, that the cases that they're interpreting are actually factually true, right? So any business where the consequence of being wrong is significant will end up using Mira API.
Wow, that's crazy. Mate, we're getting a little tight for time. What are you guys shipping over the next couple of weeks, months? I mean, crazy pace right now, and examples of integrations across major ecosystems, EVM, Solana. Before we let you go, tell us a little bit more about how people can get involved and what you guys are cooking with right now.
So we've recently announced integrations with a couple of other partners in the edtech space for Mira API. We've been working on a closed beta for a while, and we look forward to opening it up to our consumers soon. Folks can follow us on Twitter at @Mira_network, and that'll be the best place to just stay up to date with our activities.
I love it. And before we go, plug Mira, website, socials, and yourself, of course.
Yeah, Mira.network is our website. On Discord @Mira Network, and on Twitter @Mira_network. Thank you.
I love it. Did Mira have anything to do with the Spanish word like mira, like to look or to see, to find kind of thing? Or was that just a whole nother thing?
I think it's somewhat serendipitous and just evolved over time. But trust was the number one thing that we were focusing on, and just truth seeking, right? Like I actually love the analogy, or just the it's somewhat dark, but like in Dune you have the concept of the truth sayer, right? And that's sort of how I think about our work over here is how do we know that this is a fact.
Seeking truth. I love it. Folks, what an episode with Naik, co-founder and COO of Mira Network. Definitely keep an eye on these guys. They're moving and grooving. Huge shout out to Ninad and the team for making this happen. If you guys enjoyed this one, and I hope you did, please do subscribe. It would mean the world to my team and I. Speaking of the team, love you guys so much. Thank you for everything. And back to the listeners, keep on growing those bags and keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Love you guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Ciao.